When you think about your passion, what it is you love, really what it is you're born to do, if you use that language, I think it's important to start maybe by pulling back a half step and not really thinking about that specific thing that you love, but like how you're wired up, like we talked about yesterday. As you think about how you're wired up, I think one of the best ways to think about that I've run across is this personality profile called the DISC. We'll throw it up for you here on the graphic, but the DISC is pretty simple. It's just DISC, and there's 4 different personality types. Now let me say one thing here. I don't want to just throw some blanket over or these buckets out here that we all fit into one or more, or the key being more. I mean, I think most of us fit into more than one of these buckets, but I think it's good to have some language around the way we think. And so some people are what we would call people. They're on the introvert or the extroverted side of the line. And then there's other people who would be introverted. They would be more task driven in the way they think about things. And so you'll see these 4 things pop up. The D is more of a dominant, decisive personality. The I is more of the life of the party, is kind of the way I think about that one. The C is a person who's really competent, and then the S is more of the stable person. And so you'll see those, and I encourage you to read through that little list and look at those 4 quadrants and see if you can identify which one you fall into. So that's one way to look at your life, the DISC profile. I think it's really great. A second thing to think about is maybe Strengths Finder. You've probably heard of Strengths Finder, and you can go through that little test online, and it'll give you it'll rank order your, I think, top 5 strengths. I think there's 30, maybe 34 or 35 they have listed, and it's crazy. You take this little test, and it'll kind of show you what your strengths are, and I think if you can live according to your strengths and lean into those, it'll help you, especially if you're thinking about this idea of passion. Your strengths usually are, they're best show up in your area of passion. In your area of passion, if you have your strengths, you combine those together, you just really do position yourself for influence. Enneagram's another one. You can look into that kind of stuff. The key is to remember that you really are made in a unique way. We mentioned last week when we talked about purpose, Psalm 139. Psalm is a book in the Bible, and the 139th chapter, it says that you were fearfully and wonderfully made. You were, the way the Bible says it is, you were knit together in your mother's womb. You literally are created very unique. There's nothing, or there's no one like you. You're one of a kind. You might be an identical twin, and you still are an individual. There's things about you that are just unique to you. And so I want to encourage you to really think through, who are you? And as you begin to try to marry that to your passion, again, are you a man or a woman? I think that's important. There's things about you that, if you're a man, you don't think like a woman. And if you're a woman, you don't think like a man. And this coming from a guy who is married to a woman, and we raised 4 daughters together. And I can tell you, or they'll tell you, that I don't think anything like they do in so many areas, and they don't think like I do in a lot of those areas as well. And yet we're able to bring our uniqueness, my manhood and their womanhood, and together we've made a really cool family. It's been fun. And so as you think about your life, there's things that about you that are unique. There's experiences. There's where you grew up. I grew up in a small town. You might have grown up in a big city, or you might have grown up in another country. There's things about us that are unique there. So there's all kinds of things that come into play. Before we just talk about passion and what we love, let's make sure that we really understand how we think, how we're wired up, where we were raised, some of those experiences we bring, your education, all kinds of things from your background that are a part of you really living in and leaning into your passion. We'll talk more tomorrow about passion specifically, but today I wanted just to remind you, there's things about you that are very unique to you, and if you'll lock into those, they'll really position you to have maximum impact anywhere you go.